Welcome to episode 277 of That Great Business Show. And today, social media managers, if you're listening, I know you are, close your ears, because the bots are coming for your jobs. On this episode, I'm talking to a man who is trying to make money out of a pain in the ass, also known as social media. Successful businesses identify a problem and fix it. In this case, it's that kind of Friday feeling when you've posted nothing on your social media and, well, it's Friday and you want to go home. James Flynn is co-founder and CEO of Coso.ai, the Irish startup that writes, schedules and posts your social media so you do not have to, or your social media manager does not have to. You know where I'm going with this. It's taking some of the grunt work out of marketing, and they are also raising $5 million to bring the idea to the world. Now, as always, That Great Business Show is powered by our lovely friends, Facto Shaving Oil, the world's best shave. Made in Mayo, sold online to the world. Find them now, defactoshave.com. James Flynn, you've just been given your guest gift of De Facto Shaving Oil. So next time I see it, I want to see a really lovely smooth shave, and the little makel has to go as well.
Fair enough.
Welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Coso, I remember once upon a time there was a thing called Hootsuite that I subscribed to, and I would write once and it would disseminate all over whatever messages, and it would go to my LinkedIn, onto my website, onto Twitter, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. Are you not doing something very similar?
We are and we aren't, I suppose.
Actually, sorry, ask a question because I don't know the answer. Where is Hootsuite now? Does it still exist?
Hootsuite still exists. It's still a great company. They'll do close to 500 million revenue this year.
Oh my God.
Estimated.
That's all right.
Yeah, so they're not doing bad at all.
I'm just wondering, have I cancelled my subscription?
you might be a rounding error in that revenue.
Next year it might be 499 point whatever it is.
Exactly.
So go back now to you. You're sitting where, when, why did you come up with this idea?
So I basically a long time ago, back in October 2018.
That's not very long ago.
In my world, a very long time ago. I was sat in a pub having a pint with my friend and some of his colleagues who worked for a marketing agency. And at the time, I was working for Salesforce. But at the time, I was working for a finance company just before I moved job to work for Salesforce, to work on Salesforce's social media product. And they were basically giving out that in the marketing agency, they spent a lot of time by hand scrolling through Instagram feeds of competitors to their existing business, figuring out what to post for their own client when they're onboarding a new client to their agency. And that seemed ridiculous to be going on your phone scrolling feeds. So I started looking into it and said, maybe we could automate that. That would be a cool product to build. And then I have a bit of a background in AI from college, where like back in kind of 2016, 2017, my thesis was around something called neural networks, which are basically the underlying technology that powers stuff like ChatGPT.
And if you had been so bright back then, why aren't you on the GPT wagon and making a zillion grillion? Because they're paid vast amount of money.
Yeah. So the actual first iteration of this company was we were trying to build our own AI models to create social media content for people.
Okay.
So we went full time into that in about 2020. I spent about 2 years plugging away at that, trying to figure that out. And we couldn't get it to work very well.
That's very honest of you to say.
Yeah, and then just as we were, after about 2 years, when we were kind of like what we do here, ChatGPT launched from the OpenAI guys, and they announced how they, type of resources they used to build it. I realized we were just missing $1 billion.
Okay.
And we may have been able to do something in the ballpark. But
and all of the engineers that ever there was out in Silicon Valley as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So we were a bit under resourced for what we were trying to do without knowing it. So then we said, all right, cool, well, we'll just use this instead. So we spent the last couple of years now rebuilding the product using like stuff like ChatGPT and some of the other similar AI companies' models with our own kind of product wrapped around that and our own data.
If you go and use them, do you have to pay them for the use of their product?
So you pay a very small amount.
Okay, like I use ChatGPT and I can't remember, is it $40 a month or something?
Yeah, and so I think ChatGPT comes in at like $20 a month.
Maybe it's 20.
But like,
knowing me, I'm probably paying double.
For 20 a month, you effectively have unlimited use of it, more or less, for anything that you want to do.
So you could use that, or you are using that.
Functionally, we end up paying a couple of euro per month to these model companies for each of our customers. Mm-hmm. And then we have our own costs on top of that or whatever, but it's only a couple of euro per month per customer that we onboard that we end up paying to these guys. So it's very cost effective for us to kind of scale with customers. And
So what about my poor social media managers, of whom there are probably tens, hundreds of thousands, are there?
yeah, see, the issue is the existing social media managers could use a product like ours. So like how it works is we've taken the process that a social media agency traditionally does to their customers, and built that into what's called like a series of AI agents. So bits of AI doing things. The issue is that something like 5 to 10% of companies at a stretch have a social media manager. So for the other 90% of companies, or more than 90% of companies, the person doing the social media is either the business owner themselves, which may resonate for any entrepreneurs that are listening.
Or probably cheese them off because they don't want to do it and they probably hate it.
Exactly. Most slightly larger companies have maybe some of our customers is the sales director in the company that's actually has to do the social media. Some companies have a general marketing manager who has to do 15 different jobs, and social media is the 15th usually. So if they're not busy, it gets done. But if they have a busy week, social media doesn't get done. So for all those sorts of companies, the only real option is to hire someone, which is super expensive. Pay an agency, which could be like €2,000 a month just for your social media management. It's also super expensive. Or else you try and do it yourself when you have time. And none of those are great, either from a cost or a performance point of view. So that's where we kind of slot in there. We can charge a lot less than a traditional agency.
What is a lot
do
less?
Most of the work. So depending on what exactly we're doing for you, you're paying anywhere from €50 to €500 a month.
Because I did read about you that you are very specifically targeting the SME market, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. We find that some larger companies, we have a couple of larger companies as customers already, but for the majority of larger companies, they're more likely to kind of have someone in that role, dedicated resource. Like if you're a big company with 500 or 1,000 staff, having one social media person in that mix like is a very small in terms of your overall cost base.
Except that I don't want to be on their case, but they're going to earn well and you would be much cheaper.
Exactly. But when we go look at smaller companies, see, if you look at a B2B business, that's anywhere from like a couple staff up to, I think our biggest customer that's pure B2B might be pushing 500 staff. One marketing manager in a 500-person company.
Okay.
So that person is completely overworked and overwhelmed. And that's where we're like kind of guaranteed to find some sort of fit.
So talk me through, give me a case study, as I am running a 10, 20-person company. And what do you do for me? And what do I, as the owner, have to do? In other words, can I avoid ever going near social media? Now, I should declare, I love social media, so I'm probably not your target customer. But for that person who does, he wants or she wants to make widgets or whatever, not social media.
Yeah, say we just signed up a customer this week that's they're a security consultancy. So they work with companies implementing IT security solutions. So as you can imagine, it's like a 10-person company based in the country. They're really good at what they do, and they have a couple really good salespeople and really good technical people. There's no one in that company to do the marketing. So basically what we do for those guys is make sure they have good social media content going out each week. And how that actually works is we basically look at all their existing marketing and sales material, look at their website, look at if they have like a media library, so they have like images and videos and stuff saved on a Google Drive or wherever. We look at all that stuff, figure out a content calendar for them that makes sense. So on Monday, maybe they talk about, tips for making sure your staff are secure, like password tips and that sort of thing. On a Wednesday, they might share case studies from customers they've worked with. And then on Friday, maybe some like security news. Like everyone remembers the HSE ransomware attack a few years ago. So like stuff like that happens, every week around the world. So they can share news about that on their like LinkedIn and Instagram pages. And it's kind of interesting and showcases their thought leadership for their customers, right? So that's a typical campaign. And what happens for those guys is every Friday, they just get a notification from us that we've created that content. And they can just approve it or make any quick edits, and then it goes live across their social channels.
And then after 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks, you've run out of content. So who's going to create the next layer of content? So that would be one concern I would have immediately. Yeah. And the other one is, who knows, do you collate at the other end? Do you find out who's watching this stuff as well? Can you do that?
Yeah, so we track all
at least that's useful, yeah.
Yeah, we track all the performance, and that kind of feeds the algorithm.
What works?
What works best in general?
Yeah.
The more personable you can be, the better. Obviously,
trying to be authentic.
Authentic is the word, a bit of an overused word, but yes.
Yeah, but you're asking the CEO of a company to be authentic. He, she is, again, go back to the widgets. They just want to make widgets. They don't want to be authentic. Yeah. They would just. So, are you creating can you make them authentic?
We can help. So right now what we do is we'll send you, so for that kind of specific use case, we basically, as part of onboarding, we figure out, are you happy to record videos? Yes or no? And if you're not, then what we can do is, use like static images or
But
whatever.
do they have to record their own videos?
So in general, right now, yes, there is some AI out there that will kind of create a digital twin of you. You might have come across some of this stuff.
I have very recently, but the whole digital twin thing is something else. It's just mad.
It's crazy. So for people listening, basically an AI model will make a digital copy of yourself. So it'll sound like you, it'll look like you, and you can put in a script that you type or get ChatGPT to create, and it will say the script. They haven't really crossed what's called like the uncanny valley. So like that last bit of like, something's a bit off. So we don't.
And long may it last, because it's the only thing that actually differentiates us now from this AI model, yeah?
Yeah, very, very true. But that won't, there's going to be a point where those are actually indistinguishable from real life. That will happen in the near future. In the meantime, customers, obviously, we don't want our customers to be doing that stuff, and they don't want to be doing it for marketing purposes. So what we do is we send them scripts that are kind of optimized. So typically for a social media post for a video, for example, you want some sort of a hook. So it's, like recording a podcast is really difficult until I did these 3 things. So that's like a nice hook that will get someone to watch. That's the first 1 or 2 seconds. That'll get someone to watch the next 5 seconds. And then you earn the next 5, and you earn the next 5 is kind of how social media videos work. So
5 seconds, is that the magic number, yeah?
So generally the best advice from the biggest social media influencers in the world is you have about 1.5 seconds to catch someone's attention, and then that basically earns the next couple of seconds.
And that is called clickbait, isn't that right?
That clickbait makes the world go around, I suppose.
I'm going to tell you how to make millions. Not.
Exactly. But what we can do is we can take the best performing videos across, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
As in other people's
videos. Mm-hmm. So a really common one for Irish businesses that will resonate is most Irish companies might only have a couple true competitors in Ireland, for example. But there's 50 companies in the States that have way bigger marketing budgets that are selling a similar thing to similar people. So what we can do is, if we onboard a security company in Ireland that's selling a specific thing within the Irish market, we can look like New York or California, what similar companies are selling similar things, similar demographics, and they might have a marketing agency. They pay a couple $100,000 a year to create marketing content for them. And we can look at all that stuff and figure out, okay, what kind of fits with the brand of or client in Ireland, and how we can kind of take some of those themes and make them authentic to the brand in Ireland.
And if I come to you on a Monday, how quickly could you create a content for me, create a campaign for me? Is the onboarding really quick, or do you have to go through iterations and chats and getting to know you and stuff like that?
So we've systemized it quite well. So in theory, and what we're building towards is when you sign up, in less than 5 minutes, you have your first week worth of content, fully created, bespoke, completely for you.
5 minutes?
Less than 5 minutes.
Liking you already.
What we see where most of our customers right now is, so we're live with about 45 customers, mostly in Ireland, but a few in the UK and a few in the US and a couple around Europe, and one in Australia, and one in South Africa.
We'll come back to those because I'm always interested in how people find these, but continue.
Anyway, what we've seen from most of those companies that have come on board, now we have about 3 or 4 that have come on fully self-service, under 5 minutes, got a bit of content, wanted to use it and paid us. That's happened a couple of times already. But for the majority, we basically, when we see them come in, we figure out if they're kind of like a real lead that's probably going to convert. And then we get on a quick Zoom call with them for 10 minutes and ask them a few questions. And then we go in and kind of set up their account. So in reality, it's like 24 hours for most of our customers, which is still pretty quick.
That's not bad.
Most traditional agencies, you're looking at like a week or 2 probably. And then once you're up and running with most traditional agencies, typically they work in like 2 weeks or maybe 1 month content cycles. So once a month they'll send across all your content. Because we're using technology and AI and software, it's basically configurable to whatever you want. So you can get content every day if you want, or it can be every week is what we do as standard.
And I presume every day costs 7 times more than every week.
No, right. To be honest, we just charge a flat subscription.
Okay.
So like our generic, like what most of our customers are on is like €99 a month, access to the software. We onboard you. We make sure you're set up well. Every 2 weeks, we have a quick check-in call with you for 10 minutes.
Go back to if you were to do your daily content update, is that more effective than every 2 or 3 or 4 days? What's the winning formula there?
So it depends a lot on the business in terms of the frequency. What we see is, so once a week, on a Friday morning, basically, people will approve their content for the following week. So that could be one post or it could be 5 or 6 posts. But it's once a week they're having to interact properly with us.
No, I mean, from the customer's point of view, what is most successful? I'm looking for inside knowledge here.
Yeah. So it depends on the business. The platforms all have their own public guidelines, best practices. So generally, with the exception of TikTok, which is a very unique platform, the rest of them all say to post once a day, basically. TikTok's like, just post as much as you humanly can. If you want to post 40 times a day, like, it's grand, which is like it's a unique thing.
But I presume you will look after TikTok as well for them.
Yeah, we have TikTok launching in kind of January time.
So you go back to your customers in, did you say Australia, South Africa, the US? How are you picking those up?
Honestly, it's a mixed bag. So I guess part of the challenge of a startup is figuring out a repeatable distribution model.
But being identified, being found. I mean, I presume we're not alone out there trying to do this.
We are not. We're one of the. There's a lot of charlatans in the space.
Get away.
I know. So there is very famously a company only a couple of weeks ago.
Now, don't bring me to the High Court if you're going to call me charlatans.
No. We're a few years from our High Court dates yet. There is a company, I think it was at Google or someone like that, had invested $70 million in this company.
Okay.
In the Middle East.
Okay.
It was an AI company.
As in?
I forget exactly. It doesn't matter what they were doing. Yeah. And
it wasn't an AI created company. It was one that was in the AI space.
Yeah, they were doing something AI that Google or Microsoft, one of those guys, invested $70 million in them. At the 11th hour of the investment, final day of due diligence, they found out that it was actually a team of people in India or Pakistan doing the AI stuff. They just had like 1,000 people they were paying, like, South Asian wages to, pretending they were the AI. But because they had so many people constantly looking at the screens, the people didn't like say it was Google, were inputting stuff. And the person over in that part of the world was just instantly doing something as if it was AI. They're like, this is amazing.
That is brilliant.
So
guys, if you want to come on, I'd love to chat to you.
Yeah.
But I got caught.
For a caveat, I could have got the companies wrong there, but that was the general, it broke like last week before. But there's been a handful of those stories over the last few years. They're always gas. But at a smaller scale in our space, we have a couple of companies that kind of claim to do what we do. But either they have incredibly high churn rates. So there's a company in the US that raised a few million like last year. They kind of launched doing something similar to ourselves. They had really good marketing, really good salespeople. They have 95% monthly churn of customers. So if they sign up 100 customers this month, next month only 5 of them are around, and the month after only 1 of those 5 are left, and that person leaves the month after.
Okay.
So it's not a great, but because their product doesn't work properly and they've kind of oversold it and overpromoted, they've raised a lot of money and then had to like deploy all that money they've raised. Yeah.
So are beginning to sound, from what you're saying, the pitch is good, is that you are ahead of the curve a bit here anyway, are you?
Yeah, well, we started looking at the problem in 2018, which was 4 years before ChatGPT.
Yeah.
When
you told me it didn't work.
Yeah, that's true. But we did learn a lot. And we had like, okay, if this did work, this is the rough formula that we think would work.
But isn't it also true, because with the GPTs and whatever else, Claudes and everybody else, is that it's moving so fast? Like what you did in 2018 is probably so irrelevant.
100%. But figuring out the problem and the problem space is kind of technology agnostic. So it's like, okay, so I'd never worked in marketing. So like I went full-time into it in 2020. I'd never worked in marketing before. So my first calls, like literally, I got on a call with someone and they said, I'm using Hootsuite, which is the biggest tool in the space for the last decade. And I went, what's Hootsuite?
Okay.
And then went off and had to do a bit of research after that call to be like, okay, cool, this is the tool that everyone uses. Yeah. And spent a couple of years understanding the problem. Our AI didn't work, but we kind of figured out exactly what the problem is. And then we spent the last couple of years kind of building something that actually solves the problem. Whereas a lot of people in the space are people who've come in and they maybe are marketing people but not technical background, or they're technical but don't have a marketing background. Myself and my business partner Brendan are both very technical. We met when we were working for like a finance company inside in town doing kind of back end and data engineering in there. I went to Salesforce, social media product. So we have the technical ability to build it if it's possible to be built. Now stuff's possible to be built. I've also spent the last kind of 4 or 5 years understanding social media very well. So over this time I've personally managed social media for close to 100 businesses in the past 5 years, entirely while building this product. So from the lens of figuring out this problem and understanding it better and better and better. We have a lot of competitors who are, maybe they're based in Silicon Valley, they might have a great pedigree or come out of a good company. They've raised a lot of money quickly, but they're looking at this, they've been working on this for 6 months. Because it's only been cool to do this for the last year or so, in
Okay, so
mainstream.
you're ahead. So you've got first mover advantage. I haven't used that term now for a while.
There you go.
Because I think that everybody now agrees second or third is probably wiser.
Yeah, be one of the first, but be the best.
Yeah. And now you've announced $5 million that you're trying to raise.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so...
who's going to give it to you, maybe more importantly?
I'd love to know. So we've raised about €700,000 to date.
Who gave you that money, may I ask?
So half of that came from Enterprise Ireland, and the other half came from individual angel investors.
Okay.
So about $800,000, and like of the angels, about half are Irish, half are American. So that's...
And how are the American angels finding you?
So this is a very, very Irish story. One of our investors was the head of accounting at Facebook when they IPO'd, and then he was the first head of accounting in Stripe afterwards. So he's old school tech guy. He's next to Zuckerberg in the NASDAQ picture when Facebook IPO'd. He's the guy who stood next to Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
He's from Kerry.
Even better.
Lives in Miami now, but it's like semi-retired.
I'd say he's happy.
I'd say he's a happy man.
And the weather in Miami, I believe, is a bit better than Kerry.
Yeah. We were having an all hands with all our investors a few weeks ago, and he said, I as much as I like the Irish weather in winter, I'm going to stay in Miami for this one. I was like, fair enough.
Snow bunnies, as I think they call them, isn't that right?
Exactly, yeah. But the...
So
anyway,
he's backing you. That's good. Good for him.
His brother was friends with my co-founder's friend. And that guy, Mike, was living in San Francisco on a J1 a few years ago, like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And my co-founder, Brendan, and your man's brother happened to be visiting Mike from Ireland the same week. And your man's brother said, oh, my brother has a Lamborghini. He'll give us a lift to the restaurant.
As you do.
And his brother was this guy, Dave, who is now an investor in our startup like 10 years later.
Happy days.
That's
cool.
That's how we got him. And then the others are a few Irish-American people as well.
Yeah.
Less serendipitous connections now. But the Irish-American connection is very useful when you're...
Well, Digital Irish are a great bunch of people over there, and they will, obviously, I'm sure you're already in contact with them, but they are, I think their mailing list is up at 6,000 or something, and they are active, very, very active, great bunch.
Yeah.
And they've been very kind to us over the years. But in terms of I presume do you need angel type investors, individual investors, or would you prefer to get somebody nice and big, one of the big VCs in?
Yes, that's what the phase we're kind of moving to now. For the stage we've been at up till now, we've been kind of in experimentation mode, we're doing a lot of stuff that no one's really done before from a tech point of view. So we made the decision to go for some angel money and Enterprise Ireland money, just because it's less of a due diligence process in a lot of cases than going to a venture capital firm or a big family office, and it just made sense.
They don't take your equity, isn't that right?
They still take equity.
Yeah, but it isn't something about it that doesn't dilute.
So typically,
if you can exit or so. What isn't there?
So typically, I don't want to get too technical on it, but typically most angel money in early stage startups now, or a good chunk of it at least, comes from something called a convertible note, or like a safe agreement is the new version. And basically, rather than investing directly for shares, because if they invest for shares, the shareholders agreement. Typically, when you go to a big venture capital fund for your next round, the shareholders' agreement in this round gets torn up anyway because the venture capital goes, okay, we'll give you $3 million, but like this is now your shareholders' agreement.
Yeah.
Kind of. So there's a load of other reasons, but so we just agree like a 2 or 3 page simple contract with these angel investors saying, right, I'm going to invest at these terms, give you X amount for Y, a Y valuation on the company, but I don't actually get shares until you raise your next round of investment.
Okay. But you have to pay them a dividend or an interest,
a coupon, or
a coupon, yeah.
So no, for the majority.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Historically, yes, but in the last couple of years, it's swung to get rid of the coupon because it's kind of a case of like you either go and raise your next round of investment and everyone's happy, or you go out of business. So the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter.
I worked next to, sitting on a desk in stockbroking with a guy called Pat Healy. And Pat Healy was the world's expert on convertible loan notes. And what I didn't learn from him wasn't worth knowing, but that was a long time ago. So I think we've moved on from there. So, okay, you'll raise your cash now. Is that, as I've often said on the podcast, is that time for the land grab? Do you just use that to just lash out there and try to gather up as many customers as you possibly can?
Essentially, I guess our plan A for the company is to exit and sell the company in kind of a 2 to 4 year sort of horizon.
Good for you. I mean, when I say good for you, I mean, at least you're honest about it.
Yeah.
It's ready for flipping, isn't that right?
Exactly. I say plan A now because we'll see what happens,
Yeah.
But
if you grow like mad, you'll probably
essentially, there's a good... So Salesforce, when so in the first wave of this company, like Hootsuite, that company you mentioned, back in kind of 2010, 2013, kind of when they were getting going, there was a bunch of similar companies. I was actually, so the social media product I was working on in Salesforce was the legacy, like basically the rebranded product of something called Buddy Media that Salesforce had bought for $680 million in 2013.
Okay.
And then it became Salesforce Social Studio, which was the product that I ended up doing a bit of work on in Salesforce. So, but Hootsuite was actually the same vintage of startup, and Hootsuite's still going. They'll do about $500 million revenue this year. Buddy Media was bought back in 2013 for $680 million. Now, personally, I'm okay with either of those outcomes.
I agree with you.
But the reason Buddy Media was bought was because in that first wave of kind of social media software companies, it was one of the first ones to get to scale quickly.
Yeah.
So the way we're looking at it, we're kind of one of the early movers in the space. We have certain advantages with that. We have like probably a 2 to 4 year sort of range to get like a really nice exit. And if we don't exit after 4 years, we're probably just like, the plan becomes become a very big company ourselves.
Move to Miami, drive a Lamborghini. What else did you say?
Exactly.
Okay. So would you, if somebody listened to the podcast, are you willing to take money from, I won't say anybody, but because we only have the best listeners, but do you really, really, really want VC money, or would you like a nice big angel?
It's like we're open to anything. Yeah. The main advantage with VC money is the fact that we get professional investors on board who are well connected in the space.
Well, that's the one.
Often have a portfolio of companies that we can leverage as well in the networks and stuff. And also, we're probably going to be a multi-stage funded company. So we do our seed round, which should say we're going to go for $5 million for our seed round in kind of like March time. Is potentially, it might get pushed to the second half of next year, depending on a few different factors.
This is for the 5 million.
For the 5 million, yeah. But we're probably going to end up raising another round of investment kind of 12, 24 months after that. Mm-hmm. So if we have, for example, a multi-stage VC on board at this round, saying a lot of the hard work is done is definitely overstating it. Yeah. But if they have capacity to invest in the next round or have very good relationships with an investor that would invest in the next round or something like that, we do a lot of the work for the next round. And we did similar for this investment we've got so far. Like most of our angel investors we brought on board have capacity to invest in our next round. So this round that we did this year should be the hardest round in theory. And then you can kind of roll it up.
It all depends on market conditions.
There's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
But you create the environment where you reduce friction for your future fundraising with your fundraising today.
Yeah.
And you just do that repeatedly. And that slightly, your odds are still low, but it slightly increases your odds if you get good investors at this round who have capacity to help in the next round.
But you are open to conversations.
Listen, we're always open to conversations.
And you're also open to customers. So you take anybody that you want. $99 euro a month. Is
dollars a euro, local currency. It's actually anywhere from $39 euros is the lowest tier that we actually just launched this week that we got 1 or 2 people on now. And then the highest tier at the moment is kind of €500 a month. Where we do video editing and stuff for you as well.
Sounds very reasonable.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah. Well, of course you do. But no, it sounds like I would know something about the area, and I think it sounds reasonable. Yeah. You have a final question. You are going to tell me who you would like to hire in a heartbeat. It's probably one of the big VCs or one of the leaders of the big VCs or something. Or Mark Benioff of Salesforce.
Do you know what? There's a guy called Nev Flynn who is a...
No relation.
No relation. Product designer. He's worked for a couple of companies. He's working now when I last checked, he was working for a company called 11 Labs.
I know of 11 Labs, yeah.
So they're an AI voice company. They power all the AI voice products you would have seen, like AI receptionists and that sort of thing. Anyway, Nev is an amazing product designer. Up until now, we've been very focused on the product functionally working. We seem to just be crossing that chasm now at the moment where it's starting to scale from a customer point of view.
It's very exciting.
So now part of the issue becomes how to make the product, like go from a minimum viable product to a minimum lovable product and make people really happy to be using the product.
Yeah.
So he's the best product designer I know.
And is Ned Irish?
Nev, N-E-V.
Oh, N-E-V. Sorry,
yeah,
I thought he was Ned.
That's fair. That's what you'd expect. He is Irish, yeah.
Do you know him?
I do know him. Well,
have you been on the phone to him?
I've talked to him a few times.
This is James.
Yeah.
We're obviously family. Did you find it a common connection at all? No?
No, we didn't explore it actually. funnily enough.
Jeez, that's the first thing I would have done.
Well,
He's probably your first cousin once removed.
I think the first time we actually spoke in person was at a outside a pub in Lisbon 2 years ago.
That's a good place to start.
At a web summit.
A tech summit.
Yeah.
Web
So
summit,
from it wasn't the environment, I don't think.
No?
Well, actually, that was it would have been the perfect environment. But
Nav, me old pal.
yeah,
Are you the Flynns of the Flynns? Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Listen, you will come back to us because you'll be raising your cash, whether it's next couple of months or into the next part of next year. Do come back and tell us who has given you the cash and how it's going. Sounds very interesting. And if anybody wants to catch you, they will find you at
At
Coso.ai.
Yeah, if you search James
Coso.ai and you find him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, James Flynn Coso. Type that into Google. My LinkedIn's the first result. And listen,
And if it isn't,
open
the
chat.
system isn't working.
If the Google isn't working,
No, what I'm saying is if you do that and if your system is not working unless it pops up immediately.
oh yeah, well, slightly different. Like, yeah.
Just agree with me. That was really, really interesting, James.
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on to that.
No worries, and
business show.
it's worth mentioning while I'm here. Our core customers at the moment are kind of B2B service businesses, small ones, mostly Irish based, accountants, solicitors, financial advisors, and then some like physio practices as well, and tech companies, IT MSPs.
The one
stuff
thing
like
that you're not doing is podcasts, is it? If you are, I'm chucking you out immediately.
No, we need to get our own podcast up and running, and then we also
I'll
need
look
to.
after that. I'll have a chat with you after that.
We're working on the AI video stuff as well to chop up your podcast into clips for Instagram and TikTok and all.
But again, Cast Magic will do that for you as well. So it's all there.
There you go.
Okay. James Flynn of Coso.ai, and your co-founder is
Brendan Scullion, also of Coso.ai.
Of course. Because that is it for episode 277 of That Great Business Show. And a big thanks, as always, to our sponsor, Facto Shaving Oil, the all-natural, all-Irish way to stay nick-free and look sharp as a tack. You will always find them on defactoshave.com. And a big shout out to the superb sound team here at Dublin South FM for keeping us crisp and clear. There's Lee Brennan, Richard Ryan, Neil and Peter Rice. If you like what you heard, do tell just one business owner. We want to grow our tribe as well, and that's how we do it. Voice by mentions. People mentioning to other people about how wonderful we are, and that is why we are That Great Business Show. Anyway, good of me in a moment for listening. I'm the Slán Tunnel. Come along more on here, and we will see you next time on 278. Thank you.